Alrighty, howdy y'all. Mr. Reardon here. I'd like to walk you through the um, information you need and the expectations for the passage analysis practice I'm asking you to work on over this sort of flexible learning options week. So in order for you to move forward here, what you need is a sheet of lined paper, maybe two sheets of lined paper if your handwriting is on the big side, and something to write with, probably a pencil. So if you need to take a moment to get those, you should do that right now. Alrighty, I'd like you to take another moment now to set up your paper exactly like the one you see here. You can pause the video, make sure you have your MLA heading as well as the title, which is Passage Analysis Practice Notes. These should look nice and they should be organized so you can refer back to them easily later. All right, now that you have a paper set up just like this, we can go ahead and move forward here. In particular, make sure you have this line, this black line here, right here, to make sure that you have a little section on the left to put some headings and some information, and then a bigger section on the right where your notes are actually going to go. All right, so the first thing you need to be able to think about here in order to be successful in passage analysis is something that we at Pally call the XYZ analysis structure. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. So the XYZ analysis structure is just a shorthand for a way of thinking about and a way of going about analysis writing. So analysis writing is when you have analysis writing or an analysis writing prompt when a teacher asks you something like, how does an author use a literary device to develop a character? Or an author use a character to convey some kind of thematic message? Also, in AP Lang, you're going to see a different version of the XYZ analysis structure. So here's what X, Y, and Z stand for. X represents a small, easily identifiable literary device. So these are like oxymorons, metaphors, similes, hyperboles, understatement, and many others. Symbols, instances of a motif, and the list goes on. Right? These are things where you can point to it in the text, maybe in a passage or in a line in a paragraph, and you can say, that right there is a metaphor, or that right there is a hyperbole. They don't tend to span much of the text. They're pretty local in this piece of literature. So the Y in XYZ analysis refers to some broader literary phenomenon. Some broader literary phenomenon. So this is bigger. This tends to span a large portion of a text or a whole text. And these are things that are actually helped, they're developed by the smaller X pieces, by the smaller literary devices like metaphors and hyperboles and understatement. So the most common one, and the one you are probably the most familiar with, is character development, also known as characterization or the character arc. That is, how a character changes, what a character is like at a point in the story, and how that character's personality or that character's worldview changes from the beginning to the middle and to the end of the story. Z in this model represents a thematic message. So, right, these are people who something often something, right? Now, in during first semester, we spent a lot of time writing what we call YZ essays. Now, I didn't call them that first semester, but that's what they were. I asked you to analyze how Martine's development, the narrator's development in Martine from the beginning to the middle to the end of the story helped to convey some message about judging other people. So that would have been a YZ essay. Now, for passage analysis essays and passage analysis writing, instead of analyzing how a character changes and how that conveys a message, all we care about right now is how one small literary device in a passage, so a very small bit of text, maybe even a single line or a few lines, helps to show something about what a character is like at a spot in the text, right? It's very momentary. So we'll be doing this with a quote from Romeo and Juliet, in fact, from Act 1. So the quote we're going to be working with, your quote, is this one. Said by Romeo, it is, "Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright." Actually, I'm going to move this over here. Torches to burn bright. Be sure you cite it correctly when you use a quote from Romeo and Juliet. So, act, capital Roman numerals, and then scene, this is scene 5, and then the line, which in this case is 51, period. So, in order for you to really be successful in analyzing this passage, this text, right, this one line, you have to understand what's going on here. And there's quite a lot going on here. So, first and most important thing, who is she being referred to here? Who is Romeo referring to? I would hope that what you're thinking right now is Juliet. He's referring to Juliet here, right? She is Juliet in this line. So she doth teach the torches. Okay. Doth is just an early modern English word for does. And in today's English, we wouldn't need a does in a sentence like this unless it were a question. Does she teach the torches? Right? But in Shakespeare's time, the does was necessary. And so today we would say she teaches the torches. The does would go away, and we would just put an es here. She teaches the torches to burn bright. Now you have to think about this word teach, right? Someone who teaches something. What kind of person teaches something? What does a person who teaches something need to know about that thing? Or what kind of relationship do they have to have with whatever it is they're teaching? Now, most people would see teachers today, and much more so in Shakespeare's time, would see a teacher as someone who has mastered a topic they're teaching. They're the expert, right? They're the expert. They know more about this. They know a lot about this topic maybe more than most people. So she's an expert in this case at a particular thing. That's what he's saying. Now, what is she an expert at, though? Well, who are her students, right? Her students who are maybe less experts on this particular topic, who know less about the topic. Well, her students here are actually torches. Now, if you're not familiar with a torch is an instrument that involves a piece of wood, a wood stick. It's usually a big, thick wood stick. And it has some fabric, usually some cotton, on the end. And then someone in the Renaissance England would soak that cotton in some kind of oil and then light it on fire. And the cotton would burn slowly as the oil burned away, and but the stick wouldn't light on fire. It would just sort of be there. And so you could safely hold the stick and have a little fire on the end and carry it around, and you could use it as a source of light. And also, people might have these big metal brackets in their house or in a hall or something, where you could set a torch, so it would just sort of sit there and be a source of light inside the house. Probably a stinky, smoky one, but still a good source of light. So these are bright things. They're an important source of light in Renaissance England. So let's go back here. Juliet is a master of doing a certain thing that torches do. That is, her students are torches. But what's she teaching them? She's teaching them, according to Romeo, to burn bright. Right. Now you have to think, is she literally burning bright? No, not really, right? She's not burn. She is not burning. She's not on fire. Romeo is just using this comparison here. Brightness is beauty, which, of course, given that there's no like or as in this line, is a metaphor. Right? Brightness is not it's not literally burning. It's not literal brightness. It's just beauty. So if burning bright is beauty, and Juliet is teaching the torches to be beautiful, to burn bright, then therefore she must be a master at beauty. She must be even more beautiful than they are, right? And so that's how we get Romeo's understanding of Juliet's beauty here. So move forward into your passage analysis practice knowing this, right? Having this understanding of the line. Juliet is teaching torches to burn bright. She's better at burning bright or being beautiful than even the torches are, and that's their entire purpose. All right, so we have your quote. Now we are ready to move forward with the structure. I'm going to use the same color coding for this structure as we used first semester when we talked about your character analysis paragraphs. If you want to do the color coding, you'll want to make sure you get red, yellow, green, orange, blue, and purple colored pencils or pens. But of course, you don't have to do that. You can learn this just fine without the color coding. But I will be using some color coding here. So I'm actually going to write your prompt up here first, and I'm going to write it in pink because we don't need pink for anything. So your prompt is going to be in the quote above, that is, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. How does Shakespeare how does Shakespeare use a specific literary device that's an X piece, right, to reveal something about Romeo? That's a Y piece. And I'm adding an extra piece here, but you don't have to do too much with this. I'm only going to have you put it in a sentence of thematic analysis. So, and how does this, I'm going to say, instead of quote, I'm going to say device contribute to Shakespeare's thematic message about love in the play. All right, that's your prompt. So we have X, Y, of course, thematic message is Z, right? So all the pieces are in this passage, or in this prompt. So of course, the first thing you need when doing this kind of analysis is topic sentence. And for this first practice, I'm going to give you a topic sentence. You should use this topic sentence. In Act 1, Scene 5 of his 1597 play Romeo and Juliet. When you're doing this on a computer, you would italicize Romeo and Juliet, but I'm going to underline it because I'm handwriting right now. I'm actually going to erase that though, because I want to make sure that there's enough space on the next line to write some things. There we go. Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare uses a certain literary device. Now we know what the literary device is in the quote. Think about it. What literary device is it? Be a metaphor. Uses a metaphor to convey Romeo, something about Romeo, right? How Romeo feels in this scene. Often this can be a black myth, though in this case it's just a feeling, right? It's his emotion in the scene, right? So you have to think about what Shakespeare is trying to show about Romeo in this moment of the play. And in this case, I believe it is Romeo's physical attraction or feeling of, I'm going to add this here, feeling of physical attraction toward Juliet. Okay, that's your topic sentence. There's a Y tag here. Don't forget about that. That's very important. All right, Y tag, that stands for year, title, author, and genre, and you can put those in any order you want. In this case, I ended up doing the year is here, title, author is here, and then genre is here. So they're actually in perfect order. And the in Act 1, Scene 5 is just some extra information. All right, so topic sentences first, and then some context. Remember the structure for context. This is time word. So after, before, just after, during, while, right? Same thing as you learned first semester. And then, right, the where characters are. This is location. And what they're doing. This S is optional, by the way. Sometimes there are multiple characters, sometimes there are not. And also you can put these in either order. You might say what the characters are doing first and then where they are, but the time word has to come first. And then after that, you have he or she says, and you must have this piece, and then a comma, and then of course you would go into the quote. For your quote, I'm actually going to make an adjustment here. For your quote, this is of course going to be "Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright!" Exclamation point, open, and then 1:5:51 close. Double check that you cited correctly. All right, so you have your quote. Next piece has to be word analysis. You need to unpack several words or short phrases. I'm actually going to say at least two for this one, since it's only one line. At least two well-developed sentences needed for successful word analysis. What you have to do here is explicitly tell readers, your readers of your paper, what the words mean, or what images or ideas or associations the words evoke. Right? What connections can you make to the words? You might think about those word web activities we did when we read the short story Martine, where we thought about all the possible associations of the color red and summer and tortillas. Right? What are you really rack your brain. What associations can you come up with for the words in a quote you are using for passage analysis or you're being asked to analyze? Of course, you must, where needed, transition smoothly between sentences that unpack different words or phrases. Right, so once you've talked about what the words mean, you just pull a few words out of the quote and you say what they mean one at a time, and then you can tie to what's going on with your character. I'm going to do some character analysis here. So you should use all the words you unpacked you should use all those words you unpacked in your word analysis to connect to the Y piece. That in this case is the characters black myth or emotion you are analyzing. How do you understand that Shakespeare is in fact showing that Romeo's initial feeling toward Juliet is physical attraction? Right? What in those words you just talked about actually show, in this case, that Romeo is physically attracted to Juliet? Okay, so you have your character analysis. Character analysis should also be 2 sentences minimum, though more is, of course, recommended if you haven't used all of your words, all the words you unpacked previously. And then you have your thematic analysis, which is the last piece. And you'll use this sentence frame. Through his use of metaphor to convey Romeo's initial attraction to Juliet, Shakespeare comments on or communicates or states or suggests or conveys something, right? And what you have, this something here has to tie to the thematic topic you were given in your prompt, which of course is love. Tie to the thematic topic of love somewhere in your paragraph. Now, typically what you might expect next is a concluding sentence. So I'm going to put it here. But this is not required. Not required at all. I think the thematic analysis sentence does a fine job of finishing your paragraph, and so you don't need to add an extra concluding sentence. So this is the end of your notes here. I am going to put together a second video, and I'm going to link it right next to this one in Schoology. And also put it on the same Schoology page, where I'm walking through an example of all of these pieces. I just wanted to take it out of this video so the video was not too terribly long. So there's going to be a second video. You can watch that video and listen to me go through the example using, of course, a different quote, or you can move straight ahead to the assignment, which you can also find in Schoology. I'm actually going to hop over to the assignment quickly, though, just so you can take a look at it here. Right, of course, I'm asking you to watch the video. Video is here, and I'm going to add a second video that goes over the example. Once you've had a chance to look through that, if you feel like you need to, you should then open a blank Google Doc, title the document up in the corner where Google Docs asks you to give the document a title. I want you to make it your school email address. And I know that sounds weird, but I'm doing this for a good reason. Um, so once you've done that, you should then make sure your document is in perfect MLA format using this website here, also linked in Schoology if you need to, or if you need to get to it, to make sure that your MLA format is perfect. In particular, don't forget your last name and page number in the upper right-hand corner, and everything, including that last name and page number, should be Times New Roman size 12. So you're analyzing this quote, Act 1, Scene 5, line 51. If you need any help, please feel free to email. You should, of course, reread your paragraph several times to make sure there are no careless errors in grammar, spelling, punctuation. Add some transitions like furthermore or in addition as you move from idea to idea if you feel like you need to. And then submit as a PDF document to Schoology. Please don't share it through Google Docs. You don't need to do that. Only if you were to ask for help, and I would tell you share it through Google Docs should you do so. I will eventually give you feedback on this if you do it, and that's the advantage you get if you decide you want to do this. You can get some feedback from me before the passage analysis essay that will be graded is written. I don't know exactly when that will be. It could be April, it could be May. It's going to be later this semester. But if you do this practice now, you are going to be in much better shape to engage in the kind of passage analysis that's a little more expansive than this when we get to that a little bit later this semester. Alrighty, have fun, do your best, and I look forward to reading your pieces. Thank you.